Hello and welcome to yet again another episode of Conant Reacts. Today is going to be a little bit different of a video. I actually sat down and did a Zoom call with a Windsor musician, Dave. He has done numerous projects over the years as a musician, and it was really fun getting to sit down and have a chat and get to know a little bit about his career and his music path. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this style of video, and I really hope that this is something that I can do a little bit more often. So if any musicians see this and they want to be interviewed, let me know in the comments and we can work something out, or get a hold of me on any of my social medias. Anyway, let's just get straight into this video and cue the intro. Again, thank you for coming to talk to me. And then the first question is just that I was just wondering how you got your start in music and how you got interested in it.
Yeah, so like from when I was about 4 years old, I was singing "Give It Away" now, "Give It Away, Give It Away, Give It Away" in the back seat all the time with my mom driving in the car, and then I'd always pick up like a tennis racket and play guitar on it. Eventually, I was given a real guitar and real drum set. My dad was a drummer, so it's always been around me. It's always been a part of my life. So I just sort of was. It was inevitable that I would become a musician of some sort.
Mm-hmm. So how
Yeah.
old were you when you discovered your love of music and you realized that you kind of wanted to do this on a more full-time basis?
Actually, like to actually play it and perform it, I didn't start actually playing music seriously until I was about 18. And I had a job, and I was able to buy my first bass guitar. And I started on bass. I know because it was four strings. It was easy. So so yes, started off on bass and got my first bass amp, my first bass guitar. And actually, like within a couple months, I had my first band started. Which then became the band I had some traction with at one point in time. So yeah.
Nice. Um, was there a certain band that you looked up to and thought that you wanted to do what they were doing, or did you just only ever think that it was something cool that you would want to invest in?
Well, when I first started playing music, I loved Alice in Chains. And it's actually the song "Rooster" that made me want to play bass. I mean, the bass part in that song isn't that crazy. It's basically it's pretty simple, but it's a sort of like a main part of the song. And I remember before I even had the bass or whatever, I would like air bass while watching the video to that song, and like I just wanted to do it for real. So I was able to buy a bass and get started on that. I think, and currently, right now, the artist that I look up to the most is Matthew Good. He's actually a Canadian artist from Vancouver. He was pretty big in the '90s. He's still pretty big now, but he's not as big as he was. But I still love what he does.
Nice. Um, Growing up, having the appreciation that you had for music and realizing you could possibly make a career out of it, did you ever have any doubts about it and think that it was time to give up on it and that it wasn't worth the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think any art form you end up having that at some point, whether you be a painter, whether you be an actor, whether it be a musician. Eventually, at some point, you go like, should I just give it up? Like, what's the whole point of this if I'm struggling so hard? And I think that for me, that moment was when I left my first band that had some real, something going for it, Falling with Glory, where I was the bass player in that band, and I felt like I needed to grow up and be an adult. Um, but then I kept going with my solo stuff, so I was still playing music, and then I made
Mm,
this new band that I'm playing in now, right? So I mean, I don't think it's possible to ever actually give up when you're an artist. The drive is always there to make you want to keep doing it. You know.
yeah. Back when you first started, did you have a certain goal in mind? Like, for example, in 2010, did you tell yourself that by 2020 you'd have an X amount of albums out, or you'd have a certain amount of success, etc.? Like anything like that?
I mean, yeah. It's funny that you mentioned 2010 because that's when FWG Fallen Glory actually had like some real good traction going. We're on the radio a little bit. We had two, I believe by then, two EPs out that were recorded at one of the best studios from here to Toronto, and it was getting some traction. So our goal then was to like tour, which we did like a tiny bit of. We didn't do a whole lot of that, but it was tour, and then climb the ranks, right? And then by what year would that be? Like 2015, it had sort of it devolved into what it was. But yeah, so we had the goal of becoming signed artists, and that was a real possibility right around when I left.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you're from Windsor, correct?
Yeah, Windsor, Ontario.
Being from Windsor, have you noticed that you've had any like difficulties getting gigs or anything like that because you're in a city that's not really known too much for the music scene? They do have a music scene, but it's not as big as some of these places like Detroit or out in like LA or Hollywood, stuff like that. So did you ever face any difficulties being from Windsor, like a border city or?
Well, I mean, when you compare us to like Detroit and LA and Toronto and all that kind of stuff, of course we're going to seem small. But we had a really like we had a bustling music scene here for a long time. You know, from even before I was doing shows and all that kind of stuff. Like up until we had a big venue here called the Blind Dog, and that place had a fire, it burned down. But that place was like the place, you know, and big touring bands would come through, and usually, you know, the owner or the promoter, whoever was taking care of the show, would toss on like 2 or 3 locals, like on top of the show, just to like have us on, and we were able to play some crazy cool shows because, you know, the owner or the promoters wanted to put on some locals. So I mean, I wouldn't say it's hard to get shows or that our scene is you know not as good as others. I think it's we're in our own little bubble. You know, Windsor loves Windsor, and that's sort of what we do. Not that we don't live it anywhere else. It's just that we don't show it to the rest of the world like L.A. or Detroit. And I mean, but their music scenes are insane. Insane. Like they create some of the best bands there is.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of your music, I have to say that just from when you sent me it, I listened to quite a bit of all of it. And I found that the stuff that you did with Falling with Glory, it kind of reminded me of like a I Prevail or like My Chemical Romance kind of. And then I found
Yeah.
that Case the Joint was kind of similar to like was similar to those bands, but then your solo stuff with or like stuff you're doing now with DTV reminded me a lot of like the newer Linkin Park sound, and then like 3 Days Grace kind of mixed together. Um,
Yeah.
in terms of like the overall style and lyrics, how did you go about writing those songs with those bands? Because each one is different and unique in their own way, but they also kind of still do sound the same. So what was the creative
Right.
process like for that?
So I'll start off with Fallen with Glory. So that band, it was 5 of us at one point, and then 4 of us, but the 4 of us were like the main 4, and we would all write lyrics together, and we all came from different styles of music. Like I love hip hop and R&B and like weird stuff like that. Weird
Mm-hmm.
stuff when you're playing rock and roll. It's not weird in general, but when you're playing rock and roll, R&B, and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of weird. And then like our drummer was straight up hair metal. Like he looked like Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue. Like he was and is still to this day hair metal. Our singer looked like Good Charlotte. Like the entire band mushed into one person. And then our guitarist was like straight up metal, as heavy as you could. So we all had different ideas of what lyrical content we wanted in this and what musical content we wanted in this. It was such a mishmash of everything, and that's probably why it got some radio play and stuff. But so we went about it where we would all sit together and have the song playing without vocals on it or lyrics on it at all, obviously, and then we just sit and go like this line, and we'd each contribute something to it. So that was like definitely a collaborative effort on our part, and we wanted to put a positive message out there, you know, like stand up for what you believe in and all that kind of stuff. Which I mean, I'm sure now that I say that and you go back and listen to it, you'll definitely hear it. There's not a whole lot of negative in what we tried to put out there. So that was cool. Whereas Case the Joint, the current band I'm in, where I share vocals with another guy in the band and play guitar as well as the other guitarist. And that band is like, we want to talk about having fun, partying, even though we're a little bit older now. So like partying's like, have a couple of beers and go to bed, but still we want to talk about partying and have a good time. Just like, again, positive stuff, like, rock and roll and like trying to bring back some of that mentality. It's not about putting somebody down or whatever. It's just about having a good time. Whereas DTB, my solo stuff, that stuff definitely came from just years of pain, right? Then that's where I got to put my soul on wax, as they call it, right? I got to put my soul out there and just bear it all out because I just had a lot going on, and that first album that you heard, it was I think it was like about 8 years of music that I just collected, and I said this song, and made an album out of it. And yeah, so those lyrics literally come from either life experiences or like what I would assume a life experience would be like the song Courthouse. That song's about divorce. I've never been divorced. My parents aren't divorced. So I'd never experienced it before, but I was like, from the perspective of the guy, how would that be? Red, that's the song Red. I've never been a wolf. I've never been a wolf chasing down a girl in a Red Riding Hood, but I wanted to write a song about that, so I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you kind of mentioned, when I was listening to the stuff that you did, just like your solo stuff, I did notice that lyrically, just in terms of how I was able to compare your sound to another band, I found it kind of reminding me of Linkin Park, because when you go and listen to Linkin Park, all of their music is very lyrically heavily driven towards something and towards a certain meaning. And a lot of Chester put a lot of his heart and soul into his music. So going in and listening to those couple songs that I did before this, I was able to notice that you definitely did have the same kind of style in terms of just your song structure and messages in your songs, which I really appreciated.
That means a lot, man. Like that's crazy. I've never gotten anybody say that before, so that's awesome, man. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, not a problem. So with changing like the projects and stuff that you did change, what kind of made you do that? Was it like creative differences, or was it just you guys kind of all agreed that it was time to move on, or like how did that all happen?
So Fallen with Glory, like that's really the only band I've ever left. It there was a lot of growing tensions in the band. Like people were like picking sides and fights were happening, and over small stuff. It wasn't anything important, right? And that was wearing thin on me, and it was affecting my life outside the band. And we were getting these offers for like certain, like not quite labels to sign us, but like distribution deals and all kind of stuff. And they wanted to take too much from us. So I said, I'm not doing that. So I decided to just go, I'll just be a regular person, live a regular life, and go out there and find a job somewhere and, schlep it until I can find something else to do. So I left, and then the drummer, Chris Atkins, he left. And then he then created a band, which was like all hair metal. Then he also left that band, but that doesn't matter. So then Fallen Glory tried to find, well, they did find, they found a bass player and drummer to replace us, but they just couldn't get it off the ground again. So, but we are trying to meet actually to hang out and maybe see if we can make something happen again, but who knows? We'll see. But yeah, that's why that band sort of dissolved.
Mm-hmm. Well, nothing. That's not really a bad thing. Just stuff like that happens all the time.
It's life, man. It's life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So skipping forward a bit, you had mentioned that you were working on newer music before all this coronavirus stuff started. Was there anything that you can kind of tease about that a little bit?
Well, yes. Both Case the Joint and DTB do have new music on the go. I'm recording demos, not literally right now, of course, but as we speak this week, I've been recording demos for my next album. So I do have that. It's not really a tease. I am making a new album for my solo stuff. It's going to be 9 songs again, and because I like 3, so 3 times 3. As you can tell by the where is he? The 3 on the forehead of where right there. I
Oh
see
yeah,
my
I see
forehead in that
that.
picture.
Hmm.
I'm creepy as hell. I'm sorry. Anyway, so and then Case the Joint has 5 songs ready. We just gotta go to the studio, and because we're doing 2 EPs. We have one out right now, obviously, as you heard, but we also have another 5 songs that we're gonna put out digitally, and then when those are out, we're gonna make a CD of all 10, and we're gonna put that out on an actual physical disc. But we just gotta get in the studio to record those 5 songs because they're
Hmm.
ready. They're literally ready to record. We just can't get around people or each other.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So with the new projects, is there anything that the fans can expect that they haven't heard or seen you guys do before? Is there maybe a different sound that you guys are trying to approach, or is it's just a stronger presentation of who you guys are as a band than what they've seen in the past?
With Case the Joint, it's definitely kind of more of the same, but we're trying to do a little bit more intricate stuff. With the first EP, we sort of had like a straightforward rock and roll, just 4/4, keep it going, rock and roll. Whereas this stuff, we have a little bit more intricate, like song structure, um, and our lyrical content's basically the same. It's about partying, having fun, and all that kind of stuff. But it's a little more intricate, a little more fun to play for us. Not that this stuff isn't fun to play, but this stuff's just more fun to play. Um, yeah, so it's going to be different, but not a whole hell of a lot different, which is good sometimes. So, um, and then my solo stuff, it's going to be grown up. It's going to be a little less about I'm so sad, cry, a little more about how I'm moving on with life from that last album.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it. Um,
Thanks, man.
yeah, not a problem. So skipping to a more sensitive topic. How have you been handling all the stuff going on right now with the world? It's got to be a bummer for you not really being able to do as many things musically as what I'm sure all of you that are in the band are wanting to do, especially if you guys had any like shows planned. And how are you
Yeah.
guys kind of coping with what's going on and just kind of keeping your head strong and focused?
You know what? So Case the Joint has one still booked for September, but I don't know if it's going to happen, man. So what we've been doing is, it's crazy. It's just like getting a text from your friends is enough to sort of keep you going, right? And we've been texting in the group text, the whole band, and talking about what we're going to do when we come back. And um, you know, obviously you haven't seen us live before, but like our live thing is to like have somebody on stage playing acoustic guitar or something, and then they're like, I'm Case the Joint, and then we run in mass, like ski mass, and then like kick them off the stage, and we go, we're gonna play now, like, as if we're like running from the cops. So we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to add more stuff because like our whole shtick is like we're bank robbers, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to add more to that, make it more of a production, and make it more of a show. So that's what we've been talking about as far as Case Joint goes. I did have a show booked in March for my solo stuff. It's gonna be great, man. I had a lot of guests on it, a lot of people coming in and playing songs I haven't played in a long time, and that was canceled, obviously. Um, so that's going to be rebooked as soon as everything's back open. I do have the go ahead from the owner of the venue that we're going to be rebooking it as soon as we're all allowed to. So that's what we're doing.
Well, that's good at least that they're going to be doing all that for you guys.
For
Um,
sure.
so you did mention that just getting texts from the bandmates and stuff is a way to help kind of keep your spirits up during all this. But what do you personally do, just on your own, that kind of keeps you from going insane during this pandemic?
You know what? I mean, I'm gonna be honest, man. Beer's a fun thing. You can just go and have a couple beers and you're all right. But um, in a more healthy way, I do graphic design on the side. So I design, business cards and posters and stuff like that. And people who have been asking me for those, still doing during all this. So I've been doing posters and business cards and shirt designs and all that throughout this whole thing. So that's really kept me sane because it's kept me locked in doing something. And of course, recording music, because I do record my demos just at my house, so recording those demos too really keeps me going, right? So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good though, that at least you have something to do and keep you entertained during all of this.
I mean, it's almost too much sometimes. I'm like, I have too much to do now.
Yeah, no, I get
Yeah,
that. I understand that one too. I find myself just sitting at home a lot after I'm done working. It's like I don't know what to do at all.
right.
Yeah. Um, so I feel like with everything going on right now, this is actually the perfect time to get what your thoughts on it would are. Like, so is there anything that you want to address to anyone who is listening to this? Is there any kind of messages that you want to get out into the world?
um, yeah. So I mean, I want to be clear here. You mean just like anything that's happening currently? Because there are a lot of things happening currently.
Yeah, just
Uh,
anything that's happening currently that you
all
want
right.
to
Well,
talk about.
yeah. Well, I'll start off with something that's a little bit more touchy. Um, what happened to George Floyd was definitely murder, and I'm happy to see that police officer has been charged. The charge has been moved up to second degree because it was third degree. And Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. That's it. Um, on a more positive thing, we will see an end to this virus, and it's not all doom and gloom. It won't be this way forever. It wasn't this way when we had the Spanish flu in 1920. It won't be that way. It won't be this way forever now. Uh, there's a way out, and we'll find it, and we'll be back to normal as soon as we can get that dang vaccine, man.
Yeah.
So yeah. So just I want everybody to just try and stay as positive as you can. I know it's tough. The world is a bit crazy right now, and that's an understatement. So first of all, Black Lives Matter, and coronavirus will end, and we'll be back to normal, seeing each other, hugging each other, high fiving, drinking beers together.
Yeah. So
That's all I want
actually,
to say.
okay. So I have one final question, and it's just, do you have anything that you would like to add that maybe I missed that you wanted to talk about or add on to just in terms of this interview itself?
Anything to tack on to? Well, first of all, I like you. You're an awesome interviewer, man. Like,
Thank you.
I believe you went to school for broadcast journalism, right?
I went for
Didn't you?
journalism in Windsor for 2 years. Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. So like yeah, that shows. First of all, you definitely are listening to me, which is the most important part, because you get to listen to the person that you're interviewing, to then you know ask the next question. But anything else that I think anybody needs to know about me, man? No, just go on Spotify and check out, or any streaming service, and check out Case the Joint, DTB, or Fallen with Glory. Even though I don't get any money from the Fallen with Glory stuff, do listen to Fallen with Glory as well, because that was a great band I was in. Case the Joint, DTB, Fallen with Glory, and check them all out. And like our pages, and come see a show when we're doing those things again.
All right. Well, again, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today. I do really appreciate it. Well, thank you so much for chatting.
Not a problem, man. Anytime.
And I hope that you have a great rest of your day.